welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance, and this is episode 26, and this is part 2 of my interview with the Wrestling Superfan. We are discussing ECW 2000. Now, I apologized about the audio problems. I'd like to apologize once again. I am going to have it resolved for future episodes. So, enjoy. So let's move on to, all right, so that's pretty much the ending of this chapter in there. So now we get to what I call November to January, and this is basically the end, and Carino becoming a guy. So this takes us to ECW November to November 2000, and this is Carino's moment. What do you think?
Loved it. This is what really solidified my liking for Steve Carino. Then he officially won me over with that championship win, and he was beaten to a bloody pulp, holding that title up, and that's a image that still sits well in my head today.
And I love the way they did this. They called it a double jeopardy match. So it meant that Carino faced Sandman, and Credible faced Len, and they could only pin those guys. And from there, then the two would meet, and I like that, as opposed to where you going back to WWE, where it's a triple threat, and it's like you can lose the title without getting pinned. It's just like it makes it just seem like a joke.
And Paul, that's a great way of thinking outside the box and making your product different. Like AEW should steal that. That's something they should steal. Yeah. Because that's the last time you've even seen that? Nobody. If you bring that out now, many fans that were even fans back then won't even remember.
Nope, nobody's gonna remember.
You remember that now, and I think even to this day about how different that was. Just changing up stipulations in matches that they do to make it different.
Yeah, or you could do it now and have a Hell in a Cell I Quit match.
Yeah, but it's against Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. No offense to
what's next? The Hell in a Cell ladder match.
We could talk about this at another time, but what I really think I would like to see happen with that feud is Jimmy and Jay join Reigns and Heyman and build a dynasty and just rule everything.
I think something like that, but it's gonna be kind of like against it. But yeah, let's move on. We don't want to go into WWE. So Carino defeats Credible, and he's finally the ECW heavyweight champion. It took him, like the whole year that is basically been built around Carino. First he faced Dusty, and then he was part of the network, and then he turns against the network, and now he's ECW champion.
Yeah, what a perfect way to put a guy over as a babyface from a heel. What a way to build a guy up, make him credible, and then turn him face. While him turning on the network, which everybody hated, changing his gear up, that singlet. I hated that singlet look, but the cowboy boots with the trunks, that was awesome because it was almost like Dusty Rhodes passed him the torch for that. Like, here, you can wear my boots now. And like I said before, when I look now, Steve Carino was CM Punk before CM Punk. Reminds me a lot of his build, everything. He was CM Carino. A lot like CM Punk.
Yeah. And then the FBI defeats the Unholy Alliance. And this was kind of weird because they did a thing where Mikey gets hurt, and they bring in Super Crazy, comes in and tags with Yoshihiro Tajiri. What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Then Super Crazy does his his move off the top of the balcony. The FBI beats him.
Yeah, how about Tony Mamaluke? How skinny was that guy?
Dude, he was super skinny, but man, he was good.
He was and even back then, I realized that he was pretty good. At first, you used to seeing these big bulky guys back then, and I saw him, and I'm like 14, and I'm bigger than him, or I'm the same size as him. But he
reminds me of Billy Kidman. The look and everything.
He does. A little bit smaller though, but yeah, I see it. Whatever
So
happened to Tony Mamaluke?
he was in the new ECW, and then he just kind of faded into obscurity. He didn't get picked up for when WWE bought, ECW and stuff. So I don't know. I think he just kind of faded off into indies. As I don't think he landed in where I think he would have done well is probably if he went to ROH
Yeah,
at the time in 2002.
he had the skill set to be in a Ring of Honor ring back then. Ring of Honor, the way their wrestling style was at the time, he could do that.
Okay, wait, no, he was in Ring of Honor. So I take that back. I'm reading about it now. He actually was in Ring of Honor. So that's where he was, and then he comes into WWE in 2006 with the One Night Stand. So yeah, now let's talk about so New Jack faces Rhino, and man, they let New Jack beat the crap out of Rhino. I mean, Rhino gets in.
They were getting ready to push Rhino. Rhino's a big, they were getting ready to push New Jack. New Jack was becoming a really big deal at that time, and like I said several times here, that attraction, the way that he booked him and not booked him like often, really got him over.
But I think he was going to become like a feature player now.
Yeah,
like that by putting him in there with Rhino, because before he would just kind of like do these tags and stuff, but now like after interfering in the main event of Anarchy Rules, now he's kind of like, I'm positioning you kind of the same way I do Sandman in some ways. Like he's going to be
right. He's like, yep, you're exactly right. He's like the next Sandman.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could have ended up winning the world title at some point if it ended up going well.
If it went going, yeah. And then Nova defeats Chris Chetti. And here's a guy who just, to me, never got his shot, was Nova. Nova was
awesome.
And
he came out the Intergalactic by the Beastie.
I love that. That's Intergalactic.
And he did his finishing move. I can't remember what it was called, but it was somebody else did it later and made it known more. What was his finishing move?
He did.
I think he did the.
He did. Didn't he do like a double underhook and then like a DDT?
I can't remember. I know it was somebody else in WWE did it later after him, of course. But it was a nice move the way he did it. I'm trying to look it up now because I can't remember.
I'm trying. Well, let's see. Nova. No, that's a dwarf planet. That's not what we're looking.
Maybe it was the Sledge-O-Matic.
I think that's what you're talking about, but I'm trying to like see where is keep putting in Nova, but I'm not getting the. I guess I'll put in Nova the wrestler and see if that'll bring me to his moves. I'm trying to get to one of those fandom things. Okay, Mike Bucci, here we go. And they don't have his finishing moves.
It wasn't the Sledge-O-Matic. That's a powerbomb into an elbow as he's falling. Maybe the flatliner. He did a flatliner too. That might have been it.
He had so many moves at one point.
Yeah. Really, I know what it was now. It was the Kryptonite Crunch, and it was like white noise, but he did it so well. That was the first time I saw it. It was the Kryptonite
and
Crunch.
He would do it off the top of the back. Yeah, it was the Sledge-O-Matic at the power bomb followed by an elbow drop to the groin.
Yeah, Kryptonite Crunch was white noise. But yeah, like you said, he would do it from the top. He'd do it through tables. But that was the first time you saw that move. I never saw that move back then. He was
good. But man, he should have like he could have been like the next RVD coming up if they like really like
he didn't pick him up.
Yeah. If they had really like let him develop. So this brings us to the first time ECW does a December pay-per-view, and it's Massacre on 34th Street.
Oh. Yeah, I remember that one. That's a good one. I like that pay-per-view.
We got Carino once again retaining his title against Lynn Incredible, and Sandman comes out and steals the belt. And Doring and Roadkill, they finally win the tag titles from FBI, and that's
Yeah.
Rhino defeats Spike Dudley. He kind of destroys him. And the Unholy Alliance defeats Super Crazy and Kid Cash. So it's a good show, but it was kind of like, it's kind of weird because there's no RVD on this show at all. You know.
Yeah, he didn't. This was the second to last pay-per-view. Am I right?
Yeah. This is the second to last pay-per-view. Like, I think he was at this point in time. I think RVD was pissed at Heyman because he was not getting paid.
They opened again with the Bad Street Boys. This time against Diamond and Johnny Swinger. But
they did.
Type level, a good solid match to open up the show.
Yeah,
Bad Street Boys reminded me of reminded me of Matt and Jeff Hardy in a way.
Yeah, they kind of, and they also remind me a little bit of Edge and Christian.
Yeah, they're in that family with like they have a little bit of Bucks in them. They got a little bit of Matt and Jeff, a little bit of Edge and Christian, those type of teams.
And this is the first time they've done. They did a pay-per-view in the Hammerstein Ballroom, which to me, it's unfortunate they didn't get into that arena sooner. Like 2000 is really when they finally get into the Hammerstein Ballroom. And to me, that's like the perfect place.
That was a great arena. Ring of Honor took it. It was a great arena. I wish, just like they did the One Night Stand in there. That's those pay-per-views, when they brought those back, it was like, oh my gosh, it was such a breath of fresh air.
And it felt that, it felt. We'll
get it was supposed to be done too.
Yeah. So we're now at the last pay-per-view. This is Guilty as Charged 2001, and this one's sad. The one that they have on the network is basically ripped right off of the Pioneer video, minus the entrances, and it's awful. It's horrible to watch on the network. You don't love it at all, because they start matches like right when the matches are going to begin. You don't even get a lot of the entrances, and it feels like I don't know.
They knew that they were going to die.
I mean, I don't think that's how it was though on the pay-per-view. It's just WWE's take of it was they just took it off the Pioneer video, and I think Pioneer video could only put only had a certain amount of room on a DVD, so they kind of took a lot of stuff up. Because you got Doring and Roadkill, they defeat Hot Commodity.
Julio on Easy Money, Chris Hamrick and Elektra, and Nova and Chris Hamrick fought in the match right following that.
Yeah,
Dreamer and CW Anderson was good.
And I like this because you got Joey Styles on there explaining. He said, "Look, if they pass out, we're gonna wake them up. Somebody has to say I quit." And I was like, "That's great," because usually like matches, it's like they don't say I quit. They're like, "Well, he passed out." It's like, yeah, that's not the same. If I passed out.
If I can remember correctly, Dreamer made CW Anderson say I quit by taking a part of the table and wrapping around his mouth like a crippler crossface.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, I like that match. CW Anderson actually was better too. Was good, pretty decent too. He was a guy that you could easily hate, but he looked like an Anderson. None of these Andersons are related, but he looked like he could be related to them, and he did their moves, and he wrestled that style in a way. And who knows? Who's to say that they weren't pushing CW Anderson to be a good mid-card guy at this time?
No, I think they were definitely trying to do that. The other thing that happens is Rhino pretty much comes out and destroys everybody. He destroys this tag match. Chili Willie. He destroys Balls Mahoney. Simon, Swinger.
Blue Boy.
Yeah, Blue Boy. Jasmine St. Clair. Yeah, he pile drives Jasmine St. Clair.
How many times did he pile drive her?
Man, wow. So that takes us into Sandman versus Carino versus Credible in the tables, ladders, chairs, and canes match, which I love. So they have a Singapore cane at the top of the at the top of the ladder, and Sandman wins that. And that's kind of then we have the Baldies come out and they attack, and Corino Incredible start attacking them, and they kind of almost become like the new Impact players. If they didn't get a chance to really do anything with it, but I think that's where they were going with it, was going to probably be like the new Impact players. And then Rhino comes out and attacks Sandman, and
coming out and taking the title.
Yeah, makes him do a match, and he beats him. And then we get the return of RVD in the singlet that he's going to wear at Invasion.
Right. Yep.
No Alfonso though on this show.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that. There was no Bill Alfonso. Do you know why?
Why?
No, I don't know. I was just asking.
Oh no, I don't know why. I just thought you were going to tell me.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam never had a bad.
Yeah, and Lynn at this point in time turns heel. He's aligned with Cyrus, and he's like, I'm only going to wrestle main event. So he faced RVD, and they have a great match. I thought that was a really good match.
Changed his gear up. He went to the trunks.
Yeah, he went with the short trunks there.
Yeah.
And RVD, and that's
as a babyface, he's easy to love, but as a heel, he's easy to hate too.
Yeah, he did a good. I was excited to see. I would have loved to have seen what he was going to do with that heel run. I think I really think they were going to probably build to Len getting the title but I don't know. Would he have gotten it off of Rhino? I think Rhino was in it for like a long reign.
Yeah, Rhino was young. You think about how young Rhino was then. He was going to be the next big guy, like the next big thing, so to speak, for ECW, the unstoppable force that reigned for a while. Like he might have had a slump here and there, be like the main big heel in that company. I couldn't.
Well, he kind of took the place of Mike Awesome as the guy that just destroyed guys.
Right. Yeah, and he would have had. Just think about a Rhino babyface run in ECW and how that would have been. How the crowd would have been. It would have been insane.
It would have been so good.
In WWE, he got over. He got over.
Oh yeah, he one of the few guys like in the beginning until he got hurt, and then he came back and it was a completely different company. But when he first came in, they were pushing him well.
Yeah, they got to be. You know what? They pushed. Even though it was a hardcore division, they did a good job of putting Raven and Rhino. They made them look good in that division. That division was.
But Rhino got to play into like then a little bit. Like they Raven never got to sniff any of the main event.
No, he was right. Ryan, yeah. Rhino, I don't think WWE. I don't know if WWE would have ever gotten Rhino there. I don't think they would have because of the size. He's too small for them. But yeah, both of them. I liked both of them in WWE. Unlike what they did with Just Incredible when he returned. It's almost like we can't. It's almost like Vince said, "I can't see past Aldo Montoya with you. Lose to everyone. I don't care what
we'll put you with." Yeah, that's basically probably what he did. I mean,
yeah, can't see past Aldo. It's like a big joke for Vince.
Yeah,
you're Aldo Montoya forever to me.
I mean, that's basically probably what that's probably what he sees, and that's probably saw Raven as Scotty Flamingo.
Yeah, the manager. I remember I didn't discover Scotty Flamingo until after I knew Raven. I was like, "This is Raven." Yeah. I saw it on like a WrestleMania 10 VHS tape I had. I'm like, "Ain't that's Raven?" Like he's Scotty, Flamingo, like Johnny Polo. Like,
yeah, he would no, they would never have. Like who else came in from like Dreamer? He didn't really get a shot till he started working in the office.
Yeah.
Then they kind of let it. They did that thing where he was kind of like, he was in the bathroom and he would like drink the water from the toilet, and I was just like,
let me tell you who they did really good. They did Tajiri very well in WWE.
Jerry, they did well.
Main event guy to be, but What they did with him was good.
I kind of hate the whole idea of like he doesn't speak English and he's a boy. Like they kind of treated him a little bit like
Made him like
Hornswoggle.
But even though he was a comedy act, he still was.
Oh yeah,
in the ring. He like that. He changed the finisher to that kick to the face, which I don't blame them because he was that kick to the face that, like you said, the pizzazz he put on that thing and the snap he put on it. I would have made that finisher too because it was that impressive looking. But the thing with William Regal, they gave him too much comedy, but at the end he did more than what I expected them to do with him when he went there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely did more than what we thought. So let's put a little bookmark on this ECW 2000. What are your lasting memories? What do you think about this time in ECW? Because we've pretty much run through everything.
So, like I said in the beginning, this was my favorite time of ECW. Like you said, you got the ECW video VHSs, the hardcore revolutions, and you got the Anarchy Rules video games. Maybe the Hardcore Revolution was a video game. I know I still have the VHS tapes bought in store. Those things, the toys, the video games, DVDs, all that on top of the stuff that they were doing.
Those DVDs are hard.
The best time like ECW. That was ECW's mainstream coming out party, and it got ruined because they got bought out.
I know.
And we didn't get a chance to see what they would do as a company in the mainstream because they got bought out by WWE. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I stopped watching WWE in 2003 when The Rock and Austin left and John Cena was coming out rapping. And that was when I said, all right, I stopped watching wrestling from 03 to 09 because of it. And I watched One Night Stands, though. When they came on, I made sure I saw them. I have them on VHS, too.
The one night stands are so good because one, you got Enter Sandman when he came out on at least on 05.
Yeah, 05 becomes a better one, hands down.
I mean, 06 is. I mean, I like that hardcore match between Funk and Foley and Edge and Dreamer. I thought that was a good match.
Too much WWE in that one.
They bled quite a bit, but yeah, no, it was a little.
The first one was like the WrestleMania of ECW. That was like a.
You mean the show as a whole? Yeah, 2000
first one, yeah,
definitely.
And it was
06 WWE, but yeah, 05. It was like, I mean, look at the opening. They even had the old there.
It's one of the best pay-per-views they ever did, and they weren't even around. That wasn't even when they were in. They didn't even have. They weren't in business.
And poor Van Dam, he's hurt. He can't wrestle on the show. That he's pretty much, the one that came up with it.
Yeah.
He does a little bit here and there, but you could tell he wanted to.
Sabu and Mysterio match was insane.
Yeah, that was pretty good match. Yeah, that was on the 06 one. That was good. And John Cena versus RVD. That was to me. That's when they should Cena heel.
Yeah,
because everybody hated him, and I was like, this is the perfect time to turn him heel. Let RVD be the face.
The fans, again, though, they made this stuff what it is because think about Orton in 06 with Orton and Kurt Angle, and then the chance he gave at Orton, or when John Cena throwing his shirt back at him, like that stuff. Man, those fans made it. They made it, and
you got to thank
Bischoff and Cactus grabbing Bischoff and bringing him to the ring. Austin giving instructions just like he was in the Alliance to everybody beat up Bischoff, and they dumped him in the dumpster at the end.
Although I kind of wanted him to come out to the Jesus Christ Superstar theme, not the glass breaking.
Yeah, you knew that wasn't going to happen.
He'd come out with a blonde wig on.
Yeah. That would have been fun. Funny touch. Him come out like that with the wig on, like he's that, and then rip it off and just be something. Yeah, that would have been cool.
But yeah, no, this was. I mean, it's unfortunate, because they really were. They were building, and you could tell they were building talent. You saw the seeds for all these guys who didn't get to. I think Nova would have had a big year in in 01. And then in 2002, you would have had like, you'd have Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
These guys would over.
And others. So let me ask you a question. Who was your favorite ECW guy from that generation?
Man, it's hard for me to say who my favorite was, because I mean I loved so many of them. For me, since 2000, where I like really started to just follow ECW, like, you know, just watching everything and reading as much as I could about it, it might be just incredible, believe it or not.
Yeah, I can tell you who my favorites were.
Yeah, let me hear.
Well, so it took a phase. They changed because of things, but Rob Van Dam, I'll just say who my favorites were from that time. Rob Van Dam, Just Incredible, New Jack, Sabu, and
yeah,
I think those are, if I had to pick a limited amount of guys, because I loved all of them. I liked all of them even then as a child, as a teen, a young teen. I liked them all, but if I had to pick a few of them, those are the names that come to mind for me. Rob Van Dam was Rob Van Dam. He left, so then Just Incredible, like he was another. Any of these guys almost could be interchangeable. Like I loved New Jack, Rob Van Dam, Just Incredible, Sabu, all to a certain level, like of the same level to an extent. I'm trying to think. There's some other guys I'm sure I'm not even mentioning that I really, really like. Like Balls Mahoney. He wasn't my favorite, but I liked him. I met him too, and he was a nice guy. I actually when ECW was done, before WWE took them over, they came to my hometown, an organization called Combat Zone Wrestling, and it was basically an ECW show. Me and my friend, my best friend, front row for this, and we got the whole experience. Sandman coming out, pouring beer in fans' mouths. Of course, he didn't pour it in ours because we were too young, but I had a picture on my picture phone at the time. The picture is too blurry. I don't have it anymore, but I remember it. I can remember Dawn Marie being right in front of my face, sitting there, and how much better she looked in person than she did on TV, and just being like, wow. Yeah. Balls Mahoney actually got banned from wrestling in Maryland for blading at this show I went to. It was Balls.
Really?
From who I remember, Balls Mahoney was there, Dawn Marie, Rob Van Dam. That was the first time I met Rob Van Dam. I was 16. I think
so. Maryland had a blading policy?
I didn't think so, but when he did that, he literally got banned from wrestling in Maryland for a while. Yeah. But yeah, it was just like an ECW show. Until this day, that's one of my favorite shows I ever went to. So I couldn't imagine going to an ECW on TNN in the Hammerstein Ballroom, especially like that post we keep referring to that I posted yesterday, where all that mayhem went down. And you know, like saying, if you look at that crowd, can you imagine being in the midst of that crowd? That was insane.
Maybe. And that's the beginning of the show.
Yeah, that's the very beginning. That's how they opened. Yeah. Now we're
so great. Yeah, they with that.
Yeah, now every opening is the same in WWE. I keep again. WWE is the same every time, and then you got that.
And you can also tell
doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and you can tell when the end of the matches are in WWE because they have certain camera angles they use for the end of the match.
Yeah,
and you can also tell from just by watching the camera angle who's going to win.
It's just like every time they go out of the it's just like when both men go out of the ring, you know, here comes
oh no, we got to go to a break.
Yeah, you know when it comes.
We'll find you later.
Yeah, you can tell when the match is ending, even by the way they tell the story in the ring. Like, okay, I know who's winning now. Even if you're not sure, you know most of the time because of the story that's been told over a course of time who's going to win. But you couldn't. They didn't. They did a good job, and some places still do a good job of that. Like New Japan still does a good job of that. AEW does a good job of that at times. There's still times in AEW though where I'm like, okay, I know who's going to win now. But still, going in most of the time, a lot of the times I don't know, don't have an idea. But WWE, I could say about 90% of the time I know exactly what the outcome is going to be.
Did you watch Ring of Honor like in 2009 and things like that?
No,
did you ever watch?
2009 was when I started watching wrestling again for the first time. And I actually, what's crazy is I went to college in Philadelphia and I was living in Philadelphia at this time. This is when they were doing shows there all the time. And I
Yeah.
wish that I knew more about Ring of Honor then, because I would have been in Philly going to those shows. But I wasn't back into wrestling fully then. So no, I didn't. But I did have a DVD. I still do have a DVD of Ring of Honor from that time frame. I just bought later on, and I still wasn't high on them. I'm from Maryland, so Ring of Honor is kind of like based out of Baltimore now. So whenever they come here, I always go to their show, and I get great seats because I'm an Honor Club member. But like I said, watching it now with no fans is just pointless. I thought, and I've been praising them because people, when they were down, said, "Oh, Ring of Honor's dying. They're not good anymore." And I'm like, "What? Did you really watch Ring of Honor? Because they're still pretty damn good to me. I think they're pretty good still." But without the fans, they need fans. They definitely need fans. Even the little bit of fans they were drawing still made a difference.
Yeah. So I think we've covered everything there is to say about ECW. Can you think of anything else? You got
not
else to say about 2000?
Not from that time. I can't think of anything. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to start binge watching, because recently I haven't binge watched ECW in a while. And I was like, you know what? When I started finding these posts for ECW, I was like, I need to start watching ECW again, because during that time, ECW was my favorite promotion over the WWE in 2000. I liked ECW more.
It was cool at this time. ECW was so much cooler than WWE, because WWE 2000 had already lost their edge.
And as good and as much as people like to remember it as back then, I was sick of WWE at this time even. And I was like, ECW is where it's at. It's almost like how fans feel about
98, 99, when WWE was like its most edgy. And then 2000, they kind of became what they've become. Yeah. Like, you saw blood here and there, but they weren't pushing the envelope. And then you saw ECW, and they were doing anything.
Before as a fan, we grew up on the early 90s. I was born in 86, so I didn't really see the 80s. I didn't. But I remember as a kid seeing the 90s, the early 90s vaguely all the way up. And then I really became a diehard fan in 1995, late 95, when my mom and my stepdad took me to my very first Raw and Superstars tapings. That was the first show I ever went to, and they gave away free tickets at the Salvation Army when they signed me up for the basketball league. And that show just made me the fan I am today. It was Ahmed Johnson, Razor Ramon was there, The Undertaker, Bret Hart. That was when Bob Backlund put Bret Hart in the chicken wing. Like those things just made me the fan I am today. Growing up, and then you come up and you see how it is. That's what you base things off. And you see the Monday Night Wars with WCW, which was doing things a little more edgy than WWF at the time, but WWF still doesn't get enough credit in 96. That was a great year. WCW was doing things so different at the time that WWF was overlooked. But then WWF evolved, and they just evolved into what the Attitude Era. And then the Attitude Era died. And then now you're like, all right, I'm over this kind of in a way. And then ECW comes along and gets big, and you're like, this is my thing. This is my go-to now. Just like AEW today is my go-to. Like, I love WWE. I'll never stop. I don't think I'll stop watching it. Who knows? But when on Wednesday nights, NXT AEW, I'm picking AEW every time. It doesn't matter if Halloween Havoc's coming on. Doesn't matter if the Great American Bash is coming on. I can DVR it now. I can watch it later. I'm watching AEW first.
Mentioning NXT, when they brought the new ECW back, that's what they should have done with the new ECW. Treated it like NXT.
Yeah, they freaking buried it. I hate it. It was good at first. It was decent at first, but then a few later it became what WWE Superstars became. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was just nothing.
And that's what they always do.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was all WWE guys in a fake ECW.
Paul booked Big Show better than anybody. Like, the way he made him like a monster in that was like one of the few memorable things.
Still decent then. When like the Big Show Sabu rivalry, it was still decent then. Kurt Angle.
No, when it falls off a cliff, December to dismember. That's when it. Yeah. I never want to see it again.
Bobby Lashley and Kane and all that. Yeah, I wasn't even watching wrestling then. I stopped. I remember though a few times. Even though I stopped watching wrestling, I always tried to keep up with it. I'd get the video game every
Yeah.
year. I was in college and school then, so when I came home, if it was on, I had time to see what they were doing, stuff like that. The web.
Mention video. Mention video game. What did you think of? What did you think? What did you think of the ECW video game?
Well, at the time, today, if you ask me what I think of it today, it sucks. But at the time, I loved it because even though it was a complete ripoff of Warzone and Attitude, it was still an ECW version of the game. And when Warzone and Attitude came out, I played them to death, and I liked them.
I did too. And the thing that was cool about the ECW game is it had the first ever barbed wire match. Even though now looking back at it, I'm like, it's basically they just changed it to they just added the steel cage hitting the cage animation for the barbed wire.
Fun at the time.
But it was so cool at the time.
It was cool at the time, but there's not those games and I still have these. I kept all my video games, well, not all my games, but the games that I enjoyed, and I kept all the systems that I've had. And that's not one of those games that I could hook the old system up and put in.
What was like Mercy is I would create like just an ECW roster.
Yeah, that's what I would
play with that.
Back then even I'd do that. I'd make ECW guys on them.
Yeah.
Or make my own guys up.
Speaking of video games, that's the game I'm excited to see is what is AEW's video game going to be? If they bring back the engine from No Mercy, that will just be the best.
And you got Next Gen coming out. Oh,
so good.
My Fire Pro Wrestling World, that's a good wrestling. That is kind of like those games. The only thing about Fire Pro Wrestling World is it's hard. You got to really learn
it's
time
so
to play it.
Hard.
You got to learn how to play it. If you can master how to play that game, you'll have a lot of fun with it. But people have to have patience with a game like that. But I still have it. I have that.
All timing, man.
Yeah, it's a great game.
And they added the New Japan guys, which is awesome.
Kenny, right when at their peak though, if you think about it, it's kind of ECW-ish. If you think about it, Kenny Omega at his best. I think Kenny Omega though, if he's about to go on a big push here. You know, him and Hangman are going to face each other in the championship of this tournament, I believe.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll talk about that off the air. So let's end this. Do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have anything, websites, anything?
Yeah, well, just one thing I'd like to plug is the only really outlet I use is my Instagram, TheWrestlingSuperFan. It's for the long-term fan. I posted mostly stuff from the 90s and 2000s, sometimes the 80s. I post things from AEW. Not much stuff from the current WWE. That's because they don't allow me to. But I think any fan that loves wrestling like I do would love to follow the Wrestling Superfan. Been around since 2014. And I just do it out of the love of pro wrestling and like to interact with fans.
All right, man. I want to say thank you for coming on. This is
fun. We have to do this on another topic again sometime.
Absolutely. You got to think of some topics, and we'll do it. I can't wait. All right, dude. With that, I'm gonna let you go.
All right.
That about does it. I'd like to thank the Wrestling Superfan for being so gracious with his time, and I'm very happy we got to discuss ECW 2000. Look for the Wrestling Superfan on Instagram. I will be doing more interviews, hopefully in the future, with the Wrestling Superfan, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, you can see me, well, you can view me, you can hear me, because I will see you next time on the DMF.